Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Swatches and First Impressions review video. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be swatching and reviewing the Weirdo Eyeshadow Palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. This is one of the newest palettes in his collection or from his brand. So of course we're going to be going over the theme, the packaging, and of course all of the eyeshadows. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So if you would like to see all of the swatches of the eyeshadows that come in this Weirdo Eyeshadow Palette, as well as hear my first impressions review on this palette, then just keep on watching. So first things first, let's get into the overall theme, packaging, and things like that of this palette. So Jeffree Star came out with this palette or this collection. He had some other items in this collection, like his handheld mirrors, some clothing items, and things like that. So he came out with this collection kind of inspired by him back in the day. He touched on, kind of how he used to be back in high school, touched on a little bit in his MySpace days, which me, myself, and I'm sure a lot of you out there, that's when I first discovered Jeffree Star, was back in the MySpace days, and I was just so obsessed with like his pictures and just the way he looked. Like that's when I really started to get into being a fan of Jeffree Star. So right off the bat, the theme of it, that is one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to get this palette for my collection, because I just love anything throwback related. So this palette is one of his smaller square palettes. He has a few others in his collection as well. So in this palette you do get 9 different shades, so it's perfect for traveling and for storing your makeup as well. Now let's kind of get into the packaging. Opening this palette up, I absolutely love the feel of the cardboard packaging. It almost has that like faux like velvet smooth feeling. I don't know, I just love when like the outer cardboard packaging feels like that. On the actual palette itself, I absolutely love the front of it, the silhouette of Jeffree Star in the background, just the like dark, creepy goth feeling of it. I love that. One of the things that I did think about that I thought would be like epic, since it was kind of, throwing back to him back in the day in high school and MySpace, I think it would have been so cool if it would have been like a silhouette of one of like his iconic MySpace pictures. Like if that was like the silhouette in the background, I feel like that would look even more epic. But either way, I just love the look of it. The colors of everything is really cohesive. Again, like I said, everything is just really like dark, and that same like dark cohesiveness does go into the eyeshadows themselves, which really isn't my cup of tea. It's not really my type of eyeshadow look that I would go to, but there are some of the colors in here that I am drawn to. The ones that really stuck out to me were the colors Only Child, Punk Couture, and 1985. All right, so that is kind of the overall packaging, the look of everything, and that's what all of the eyeshadows look like. So now let's go ahead, dig into each of these eyeshadows and swatch them. So the first eyeshadow we have in the top left corner is the name Glamour Shot, and this is a creamy white matte shadow. I found this shadow to be slightly chalky, not as pigmented, and honestly wasn't really anything special in my opinion. The next eyeshadow we have is in the name Razor Blade, and this was definitely one of my favorite eyeshadows. It is a silver shimmery shadow, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Pigmented, like the shimmer from the shadow is just breathtaking. I'm obsessed. The next eyeshadow we have is in the name Mohawk, and this is a muted pink color, and it's also a matte shadow. I feel like this color is pretty unique. I love the like muted, darker pink color of it. It kind of makes it a little bit more wearable as well, since it's not like a bam pink color, but I did find this shadow to not be as pigmented. The next shadow we have is in the name Punk Couture, and this is a dark gray matte shadow. I was kind of disappointed in this shade. Looking at it in the pan, I was really thinking that this color was gonna pay off, but I don't know, I just didn't find it as pigmented. The next shadow we have is in the name Weirdo, just like the palette, And this is a basic black matte shadow, and that's pretty much what it is. It's a basic black, pigmented, really have no complaints about this one. Next, we have the shade Only Child, and this is kind of like a mix of a plum red color, and it is also a matte shadow. Definitely another one of my favorites. It's just beautiful, pigmented, gorgeous. The next shade we have is in the name 1985, and this is another matte shadow, and it is more of like a muted gray purpley color. This was another shadow that I was really looking forward to, but I kind of had the same opinion as in Punk Couture. I just didn't find it as pigmented. Next, we have the shadow in the name Freak Show, and this is a matte shadow that's more of like a deep brownish black color. And I kind of had the same opinion as the shade Weirdo. No complaints from this one. Gorgeous. And last but not least, the last shadow in this palette is in the name Scene Queen. I love that name. And this is a lighted, kind of like a muted red matte shadow. And this was kind of another color I just didn't find as pigmented when I swatched it. Alrighty, so here are all of the swatches of each of the eyeshadows on my arm. Definitely some of my favorites in this palette are Razor Blade, that silver shimmery color, Only Child, and Freak Show. Now that we kind of played around with the shadows, went over the packaging, let's go ahead and get into some of the pros and cons of this eyeshadow palette. Now, I guess we'll just go ahead and get the negative out of the way. I feel like I'm kind of 50-50 on this palette, but we'll go ahead and start with the cons. So the con that I would say with this palette, in my opinion, is it's just not very wearable. A majority of the eyeshadows in this palette are on the more darker side. I do like that a majority of them are matte. Just in my opinion, I do prefer matte shadows over shimmery or sparkly shadows. So I do like that, but still, just because of how dark they are and just the colors of them, I just don't find this palette as wearable, and I just don't see me ever like reaching for this palette. And the pro of this palette is it is one of his smaller square palettes, so it's perfect for traveling, storing, and I do feel like it is just one of those palettes that is a staple, unique Jeffree Star Cosmetics palette, and it's just one of those palettes I feel like you just need to have in your collection, especially if you have been a fan of Jeffree Star for a while. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion on this palette, and to be perfectly honest, I feel kind of indifferent about this palette. Like I said with my pros and cons, it's kind of 50-50 with how I feel about it. So is this something I would recommend? I honestly don't know. I think that's something you'll have to decide for yourself as far as what would you want this palette for. In regards to a palette that you can wear, you know, on an everyday basis, something that's like a staple in your everyday makeup collection. In that case, I don't know if I would recommend it. But if you are someone like me that really enjoys collecting makeup, that likes having some of those unique products in your collection, that for sure I would recommend this palette. That was definitely one of the biggest reasons that I got this palette. I just really wanted to have it in my collection, and I'm so happy that I do. Because like I said, I do think it is one of those like unique staple products from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I will also be filming a get ready with me using this palette, which will be up on my channel later this week. So maybe that'll kind of change my mind a little bit, but that's kind of what I'm feeling as of this moment. All right, everyone, and that is it for my swatches and first impression thoughts on the Weirdo Eyeshadow Palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. If you yourself did get this palette or any other products from this collection, definitely let me know your first impression thoughts down in the comments down below. And yeah, I'm gonna get going for now, but I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will see you all very soon later this week in my Get Ready With Me using this palette. Thanks everyone, bye!